This message was not easy to reach you. Something was working against it arriving today. Something was interfering with the signal between this word and the moment when you would be still enough to receive it, and you almost did not open it. I need you to know that. You almost scrolled past this. There was a moment, perhaps a fraction of a second, perhaps a longer hesitation, when your hand moved and the screen began to shift to something else. And then you came back, and that return, that one small decision to stop here instead of somewhere else, is already being written into the record, because this message was not easy to reach you, and you are the person who opened it anyway. That is not small. That is exactly the kind of thing I notice. Most people who are carrying what you have been carrying would have moved past a title like this one. They would have read the words and felt a flicker of something, and then protected themselves from that flicker by continuing to scroll, because to stop is to hope again, and hoping again after the kind of seasons you have been through is the bravest and most terrifying thing a person can do. But you stopped. You are still here, and I want you to know before I say anything else, my child, before the message goes any further, that the fact that you stopped is itself the beginning of what I am releasing today. If something in your chest tightened when you read that title, if something shifted or went still or exhaled in a way it has not exhaled in a long time, I need you to notice that. That is not anxiety. That is not wishful thinking. That is recognition arriving in your body before your mind has finished processing the words. The part of you that knows things before you have given yourself permission to know them. That part recognized something in the title of this message. And what it recognized is true type. I felt it before I had words for it. Because when you type that, you are not leaving a comment. You are saying out loud the thing that was already happening in you before you had language for it. Heaven reads that as your acknowledgement of what I am doing, and what I am doing, my child, has already begun. I want to take you back to something. Not to a scripture first, not to a principle, but to a specific memory that I believe you carry. There was a time, and I think you know exactly the time I mean, when you believe something clearly, when the sense of being called to something was not vague or uncertain, but specific enough to feel like a name you had been given. You knew, my beloved, in the quiet, in the early mornings before the day had become complicated, in the prayers you said before doubt had accumulated enough weight to reshape the landscape of what felt possible. You knew, not everything about how it would unfold, but the core of it, the shape of it, the sense that your life was moving towards something that had been prepared for you, and that the preparation was real, and that the one who had prepared it was not going to abandon the work he had started. You knew that, my child. There was a season when you knew it without effort, the way you know the sun will rise without deliberation, without having to convince yourself first. And then, my beloved, it got quieter, not all at once. These things rarely end all at once, but slowly, and under the weight of accumulated time and unanswered prayers and circumstances that did not reflect what you had been believing for. The knowing began to feel less certain. The promise began to feel less like ground beneath your feet, and more like something you had once held and set down during a difficult stretch, and now were not entirely sure you had put back in the right place. The silence from heaven, which had once felt like a pause, began to feel like a conclusion. And somewhere in that shift, my child, you stopped saying certain things out loud. You stopped voicing the hope in the specific terms you had once used, because to voice it in specific terms was to risk being disappointed in specific terms, and the disappointment you had already survived had cost you more than you wanted to spend again. I remember when you still believed that. My child, I want you to hear me say that directly. I remember the exact moment when the believing was easy, and I remember every moment between that moment and now when the believing became harder, and I was present for all of it. I was not somewhere else while the silence accumulated. I was not occupied with other things while the gap between the promise and the visible reality persisted. I was with you in the specific texture of every waiting day. Every morning you woke up and checked for movement and found stillness. Every prayer you sent into a room that felt empty and listened to the echo come back without an answer you could hold. I was there, my beloved. I am here now. And I need to tell you something that I have been trying to reach you with for longer than this message has been playing. I did not move on from what I promised you. I did not give your blessing to someone else. I did not look at the season where you stopped believing with full intensity and decide that your hesitation released me from what I had set in motion. What I started in you, my child, I do not abandon. What I plant, I do not leave to die, and what I preserve, I release at the appointed time, not at the most convenient time, not at the time that requires the least amount of trust, at the appointed time, and that time, my beloved, is now. There was a dream you silenced, my child. I want to be specific enough for you to find yourself in what I am saying, because I am not speaking in generalities here. I am speaking about a particular thing. There was something you once knew you were called to, something specific enough to have a shape and a direction, and you stopped pursuing it or speaking about it or even fully allowing yourself to think about it with the freedom you once did, because the gap between where you were and where that calling would require you to go had become too painful to look at without protection. My beloved, and the protection you chose was a kind of silence, not formal surrender. You did not formally declare it finished, but you stopped pressing toward it in the way you once had. You filed it in a place in yourself that you did not open often because opening it cost you too much. There was a prayer season you abandoned, my child, not because you stopped believing in prayer, but because the particular season of intensive, specific, faith-filled prayer you had been pouring yourself into had continued for long enough without visible response, that continuing to pour at that level felt like something you could not sustain, and so you scaled back, not to nothing, but to something less specific, less vulnerable, less exposed. Because to pray specifically is to expose yourself to a specific disappointment, and you had already survived enough of those. The scaling back felt like maturity. It felt like wisdom. It felt like having learned to hold the promise with open hands. But underneath that framing, my beloved, I want to tell you what it actually was. It was protection, and I am not blaming you for needing it. I am only telling you what it was, because the thing I am about to restore in you requires you to know what happened to it. There was something stolen from you during your weakest season. I want to acknowledge that directly, my child, because I do not want to skip past what actually occurred. The enemy did not operate on you from a position of strength. He operated on you from a position of timing. He did not come when you were confident and well-resourced and standing in the fullness of what I had said about you. He came when you were tired. He came when the accumulation of waiting had worn down the particular layer of faith that functions as armor. He came when the gap between the promise and the present reality was at its most visibly vast, and he planted something in that gap. He planted a conclusion. He planted the interpretation that the gap was evidence of absence, that my silence meant my absence, that my patience with the timeline meant my withdrawal from the promise, that the years without visible movement were the years in which I had reconsidered, or been unable, or had quietly released you from a calling that had proven more than your life could carry. That was a lie, my child. I need to name it with full precision. It was a lie, not a misunderstanding, not an understandable interpretation of difficult circumstances, but a deliberately constructed untruth planted by someone who understood that if you believed it, the damage would be catastrophic and long-lasting, and you believed some of it. Not all at once, and not without resistance, but enough of it seeped in during that weak season to affect the way you have been carrying yourself since. My child, enough of it lodged in the architecture of your believing to change the way you pray, the way you speak about your future, the way you allow yourself to hope, my beloved. And today, I am here to remove it, all of it, every inch of what was planted in you in that season, every conclusion that was constructed to replace the truth I had spoken over you. It is being removed now, not gradually, not partially, fully, because the record in heaven of what I said about you and to you and over you has not changed, and the lie the enemy planted will not be allowed to stand in the place of the truth any longer. Type, I am still the one God chose, not as a hope, not as a wish that you are asserting into existence because you need it to be true. Type it as a fact that heaven has always known about you. That was true the day the promise arrived, that remained true through every day the gap persisted, and that is true right now, today, in this moment, regardless of what the visible circumstances have said about you. When you type it, you are not creating the truth. You are aligning with a truth that was never not true. And heaven reads your alignment as your signature on the reality I have been holding in place for you through everything. Now, I want to take you into the record, not a metaphorical record, not a vague idea about divine witnessing, but the specific, permanent account of what heaven has been keeping about you in this season. Because what I am about to restore to you did not disappear during the years of silence. It was being held, and the record of your faithfulness in the holding is the evidence I want to set before you today. I have recorded every prayer you whispered into a room that felt empty. Not the prayers you said with confidence, not the prayers that felt like they landed somewhere real, but the ones you said when you were not sure anyone was listening, when the act of praying felt more like discipline than connection, when you chose to speak the words anyway because abandoning the practice entirely felt like a defeat you were not willing to name. Every single one of those prayers is in the record, my child. The specific words, the specific weight, the specific cost of continuing when continuing was the harder option. I have recorded every morning you chose to get up when staying down would have been a reasonable response to what the morning was offering. The mornings after the nights when the questions were loudest, the mornings when the news was bad, when the circumstances pushed back, when the people around you provided no encouragement and the environment provided no sign. You got up, my beloved, you chose to continue, not always with joy, not always with visible faith, sometimes with only the stubborn refusal to let the difficulty have the final word. I recorded every one of those mornings. They are in the book. They count. I have recorded the dream you did not share because you were afraid of being told it was too much. The specific vision of the life I had placed in you that you kept private, because the version of you that the people around you could currently observe seemed so far from the person that dream required that sharing it would have invited responses you were not strong enough in that moment to receive without damage. The dream that you visited alone, in the small hours, in the quiet places, but did not speak aloud. That dream is in the record, my child, named by me, preserved by me, protected by me through every season when it could have been extinguished. I have recorded every time you chose to stay faithful when you felt nothing, the tithe given when the giving was hard, the service offered when recognition was absent, the encouragement extended to someone else in the exact season when you were most in need of encouragement yourself, the faithfulness practiced in the ordinary, in the small, in the places where no one would have known the difference if you had reduced it. Heaven knew, my beloved, and heaven recorded it. The record does not lie. The record does not expire. And the record, my child, is the evidence I am presenting now as the foundation of what I am about to release. Not because your faithfulness earned what I am giving you, you do not earn what I give, but because the record of your faithfulness in the waiting season is the proof that what I am releasing will be received by someone who is ready to hold it. Someone who has been formed in the specific ways the gift requires. Type, I know exactly what season I lost it in, because naming the season is not the same as dwelling in it. It is the honest acknowledgement that allows me to speak honestly about what was taken and what is being restored. When you name it, you are not going backward. You are allowing me to reach back with you into the exact place where the theft occurred, so that what was taken can be specifically and completely returned. Heaven reads your willingness to name it as your readiness to receive the restoration in full. Stay with me, my child. Every message I send through this voice is a continuation of what I am doing in your life right now. If this place has been a source of bread and water for you in the waiting season, follow this channel so the next word I have for you arrives when you need it. Stay with me. And before I go further, my beloved, I want to pause here because someone has been watching this today who is further in their waiting than you are. Someone whose silence has lasted longer, whose gap has grown wider, whose dream has gone so quiet they have almost stopped listening for it. If this word is reaching them through you, my child, I am asking you to send it to them, not with explanation, simply with the note that I have not forgotten them, that the dream they stopped speaking aloud is still held in my hands. You may not know what that act of sending will mean to them. I do. And if this voice has been the one that met you in the specific silence of your cave, and said the true thing when the other voices around you were saying otherwise, I want to invite you to sow a seed here today, my child, not as a transaction, not because your giving moves the timeline in my hands. but as an act of faith from someone who is still standing in the in-between. As a declaration from the waiting season that you believe the restoration is real. Sow a seed today, not for yourself, but for someone in your life who is still carrying the weight of the promise, not yet visible. Someone whose name is already forming on your heart right now. Let your seed be a declaration spoken over them from inside your own cave. Visit the link in the description below or scan the QR code on screen. And know that what is sown in the waiting season carries a particular weight in my hands. I see the faith it takes to open your hand from here, and I honor it. Because you have stayed this far, my child, because you have held on when the weight of the waiting gave you every reasonable excuse to release it. What I am about to speak now is released specifically for those who have not moved from this place. Not everyone reached this part you did, and that is not an accident. Now, I want to speak about the enemy, my child, not in vague terms, not as a spiritual abstraction, but with the specific clarity of someone naming a criminal before a court. Because what was done to you in that weak season, the planting of the lie, the theft of the believing, the construction of the conclusion that your blessing had been redirected, was not random difficulty. It was a deliberate operation. And I am bringing it into the light today, not to increase your fear of it, but to dissolve it. Because what is unnamed persists in the dark. What is named is brought into the jurisdiction of my authority, and in my authority, my beloved, it does not stand. The central lie the enemy planted in you was this: it is too late. Those words, or some variation of them, have been the thread running through the doubt of this season. It is too late. The promise was for a version of you that no longer exists. A younger version, a more obedient version. The window closed while you were struggling to stay in it. What you were promised went to someone else, who was more consistent, more ready. These are the specific forms the lie takes, my child, and I need you to hear them named clearly because you have been carrying them as if they were facts. They are not facts. They are strategic constructions designed to keep you from receiving what I have preserved for you. Joel 2:25. I will restore to you the years that the swarming locust has eaten, the hopper, the destroyer, and the cutter, my great army which I sent among you. I will restore the years, my child. Not acknowledge that the years were lost, not offer comfort about the years that were difficult. Restore, the word in the original language, is a word of active divine movement. It means I am coming back to the place where the theft occurred, my beloved, and I am recovering what was taken, and I am returning it to its owner. The years that the locust ate are not simply acknowledged and then bypassed on the way to the new thing. They are restored, my child. What was taken from you in those years? The believing, the hope, the sense of forward movement, the specific joy of knowing you were walking towards something real. I am returning it to you. Not a lesser version, not a substitute for what was lost. The specific thing restored in full with the weight and the certainty it had before the years of subtraction. Isaiah 61:7. Instead of your shame you shall have a double portion. Instead of dishonor you shall rejoice in your lot. Therefore in your land you shall possess a double portion. Yours shall be everlasting joy. A double portion, my beloved. Not a comfortable sentiment. It is the specific mathematics of my restoration. Every year that produced shame, every season that produced dishonor, every stretch of time when the circumstances of your life were speaking a smaller story than the one I have been writing, the return is double. Not equivalent. Double. Because what the enemy stole from you, he stole with interest. Time compounding against you, and I am returning it with interest reversed. The double portion is the visible demonstration that the verdict I rendered over your life is not the verdict that the years of difficulty appeared to render. The lie that it is too late, my child, is dissolved not by my telling you not to believe it, but by what I am doing. And what I am doing is not a future thing that you need to hold in faith indefinitely. My beloved, what I am doing is already in motion. The restoration is not a promise about what might happen if certain conditions are met. It is a declaration about what is already happening, already being set in place, already moving toward you, my child. The years are being restored. The double portion is being prepared. The enemy's conclusion is being overturned, not by a counter-argument, but by an act of God. and the specific thing that was working against you, the force that operated in your weak season to plant the lie and grow the doubt, and widen the gap between the promise and the present reality, that thing is being exposed today before heaven, my beloved, not just noted. Exposed, brought into the full light of my authority and stripped of the cover it has been operating under. Because an enemy that works in darkness depends on the darkness to be effective. And the darkness I am removing from around your situation today is the darkness of the conclusion that the promise has expired. Job 42:10. And the Lord restored the fortunes of Job when he had prayed for his friends. And the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before, twice as much, my beloved. And notice the timing of Job's restoration, because it is not incidental. It did not arrive at the moment of maximum faith. It arrived after the season of loss had done its complete work, after Job had sat with the friends who did not have the right answers and prayed for them anyway, after the place of deepest difficulty had been inhabited fully and honestly. The restoration came not as a reward for having resolved all the questions, but as an act of my sovereign decision to reverse what had been done. The enemy's operation was an attempt to damage Job so thoroughly before the reversal that the damage would be irreparable. But what the enemy did not know, my child, is that what I preserve is preserved beyond his reach to damage permanently. Job received twice as much as he had before, not because he had demonstrated sufficient faith to qualify for the doubling, because the reversal was my decision, and my decision was double type. The dream is still mine. Not the dream in a diminished form, not the dream as a consolation prize for having endured. The dream exactly as it was given to you, preserved through every season when the circumstances argued for its impossibility, intact, real, and moving toward the moment when it becomes visible to the same people who observed the loss and drew their conclusions. Type it as someone who is receiving a report from heaven about the status of something that has been in my keeping, because I am telling you today that the status of what I preserved is unchanged. It is still yours. It was never given to anyone else. I want to speak now about the shame, my child, because it has been sitting in you in a way that is changing how you move. The shame that comes from the gap between the promise and the present reality. The shame of believing in a year that made the believing look foolish. And the enemy has been using that shame specifically, because a person who is managing shame does not move in the fullness of who I made them to be. They move in the managed version, the safer version, the version that has learned not to stake too much on the promise, because the cost of being seen to have staked everything and then come up empty is a cost they have already paid and do not want to pay again. Isaiah 61:7 speaks directly to this. Instead of your shame, a double portion; instead of dishonor, rejoicing. The shame is not permanent, my child. It is a temporary condition being actively overturned. The double portion does not arrive alongside the shame. It arrives in the place of it, the exchange, the specific, complete, divinely enacted exchange. The ones who observed the gap will observe the restoration. The ones who drew conclusions from the difficulty will be present when the reversal makes their conclusions impossible to maintain. Not because you need them to see it in order for it to be real, but because my restoration does not happen in the dark. It happens visibly, in such a way that what was held against you becomes the foundation of what I build in your sight type. I release the shame of how long it took, because the length of the season is not evidence of your inadequacy. The length of the season is evidence of the depth of what is being prepared. Long formation produces deep foundations, and the foundation I have been laying in you through this season is the foundation of something that will not be moved when the winds that come with visibility and breakthrough arrive. Because they will arrive, my child, and the person you are becoming in this season is the person who will be able to stand in that arrival without being thrown by it. There is something I want to name with complete clarity, my beloved, because it is the specific mechanism the enemy used in your weak season, and it is still operating in the background of your believing even now. It is the lie that I gave your blessing to someone else. It is the specific version of the too late lie that comes with evidence. Evidence in the form of other people who received visibly, who moved into the thing you were also believing for, and whose visible arrival seemed to make the point that the supply was limited and the window was limited, and you were on the wrong side of both. I want to address this directly. What you saw happen for other people was not your blessing being redirected. What you saw happen for other people was what I prepared for them arriving at the time I prepared for it to arrive, my child. Your preparation is not their preparation. Your appointed time is not their appointed time. My generosity toward one person does not constitute a withdrawal from another, my beloved. And the specific thing I have been preparing for you was never at risk of going to someone else, because what I prepare is prepared for a specific person, shaped to fit a specific life, and it waits with the patience that is peculiar to things held in the hands of the eternal for the specific moment when the specific person is ready to receive it in the specific way that the receiving requires. Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Plans, my child. Not a single plan, not a hope balanced against a threat, but plans, deliberate, specific, already formed, already in motion, to give you a future and a hope, my beloved. The future I have for you was not diverted when the hard season arrived. The hope I have for you was not retracted when the silence accumulated. The plans existed before the season of difficulty, and they exist unaltered on the other side of it, my child, and the future and the hope I am giving you are not metaphors for comfort. They are the specific, tangible restoration of what was stolen, returned with the precision that only I can execute, in the form that fits the specific life I have been forming you to inhabit. What the enemy attempted to bury in your weak season was specifically chosen, my beloved, because of how important it was. The enemy does not devote resources to things that do not matter. The specific thing that was targeted in your weakest season was targeted because of what it is, because of where it leads. My child, he moved against it at the point of maximum vulnerability because he understood the stakes. You were targeted because of your value, my beloved. You were attacked because of your calling. And the season that felt like evidence of diminishment was actually evidence of exactly the opposite. The weight of the opposition was proportional to the weight of what was being opposed. And what was being opposed, my child, is still in place. I preserved it through every season when the opposition was running against it. And what I preserved, I am now releasing. Type, the enemy did not bury it. It is still alive. Not as a defiant wish, not as a declaration of something you are trying to make true by force of confession, as a report of what I know to be true about the specific thing that was targeted in you. The enemy attempted to bury it. The enemy did not succeed. It is alive. It is intact, and it is about to become visible. I want to speak now about the person you became in the waiting season, my child, because this is one of the things I need you to understand most clearly before I speak about what is coming. The waiting season did not subtract from you, my beloved. I know it felt like subtraction, but what actually occurred in you during the seasons you have been naming as your lost years is not what it appeared to be from inside it. The waiting season built something in you, my child, that the blessing I am about to release requires in order to be held sustainably. Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. All things, my beloved, every season of silence. Every year the gap persisted. Every morning you chose to continue without the fuel of visible progress. All of it was working, actively, purposefully, being used by me to produce the exact depth of character, the exact rootedness, the exact capacity for stillness under pressure that the next season requires, my child. A person who receives a breakthrough before they have been formed to hold, it is overwhelmed by it in ways that look like success from a distance and feel like drowning from inside. I have been insisting on your formation, not because I enjoy the process of delay, my beloved, but because I love you too much to release you into a season you cannot sustain. What I am releasing now is specifically shaped for the person you became in the formation. The timing is not late, my child. The timing is precise, and the precision is love. Isaiah 43:19, behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. A new thing, my beloved, not the restoration of the old thing in the same form it had before it was taken. New, restored, and new simultaneously, which is the particular miracle of what I do with the years the locust ate. The restoration is not a rewinding of the tape to the moment before the loss, my child. It is an advance to a version of the promise that incorporates everything the waiting season added to you, that is larger and deeper and more encompassing than the version you were carrying before the silence. My beloved, because you are larger and deeper and more encompassing than the person who received the original word, new, my child. Something you have not seen before. Something that will not fit into the categories you were using to understand the promise before the formation season changed what you are capable of holding. Away in the wilderness, rivers in the desert. Not despite the wilderness and the desert through them type. I agree with what God is restoring, not with a resigned or exhausted assent, with the full weight of someone who has been in the formation and knows what the formation has produced and is ready, truly ready to step into what is on the other side of this threshold. When you type it, you are signing your agreement with the verdict heaven has already rendered. You are putting your name alongside mine on the declaration that the restoration is real, and the restoration is coming, and the restoration is for you specifically. Heaven reads that agreement as your positioning for what is already in motion toward you. If someone you know is still in the season you are leaving, if their dream has gone quiet and their prayers feel unanswered, and the gap in their life is still wide, send this to them, my child. Let them know I have not forgotten them either, that what I am doing for you, I am also prepared to do for them. Because you did not leave when this began to cost you something, my beloved. What was sealed is now open for you. The record shows you were here. I need to warn you about something, my child, because I love you, and because what I am about to release into your life is going to meet resistance, and I want to prepare you for the specific form that resistance is going to take. In the days ahead, after you have received this word, my beloved, after the warmth of this moment has begun to settle into the place where the old conclusion used to sit, the enemy is going to attempt to reassert the lie, not in a new form, in the same form it has always taken. A circumstance will arise, or a word will come from someone you trust, or an internal voice will make itself heard at a moment when you are tired and the circumstances are not cooperating. And it will say the same thing it has always said. It is too late. You misheard, the window closed. Look at your circumstances, and I am telling you now, before it happens, so that when it happens you will have a frame for it. That is not evidence that this word was false. That is evidence that this word was true, my child, because the enemy only moves against what is actually threatening his position. And this word is threatening his position in your life. The doubt that comes after this moment is not a sign that the promise has been taken back. It is a sign that the promise is real and the enemy knows it. Do not be moved by it, my beloved. It does not have authority over what I have declared, because you did not skip this message, because you stayed when the weight of the waiting gave you every reasonable excuse to close this and return to something easier, because you held on through every part of this that was pressing against the places where the doubt has been sitting. I want to tell you what that means. What was held in reserve, what was preserved specifically for the person who would remain through the full weight of what I was saying, is being released now, not in the future. Now, in this moment, as you are sitting with this, with your chest carrying whatever it has been carrying since the title, with the record of your faithful waiting still fresh in the air between us, what I sealed in the waiting season is being opened for you. The specific thing, the actual thing, the thing that the enemy worked so hard against, it is being released now, my child, and it was worth the wait, not because the waiting was pleasant, but because what required the wait is exactly what I am giving you. Psalm 126:5-6. Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy. He who goes out weeping, bearing the seed for sowing, shall come home with shouts of joy, bringing his sheaves with him, with shouts of joy. My beloved, not with a cautious return, not with a quiet relief that is still half expecting something to go wrong, but with shouts. The sheaves are coming home, my child. The years you sowed in tears, the prayers you spoke in rooms that felt empty, the faithfulness you practiced when faithfulness felt like the most expensive thing in your possession, those are the seeds coming back now as the harvest. The economy of the kingdom does not forget what was planted. My beloved, it does not lose track of the weeping sower. It holds the seed until the appointed harvest, and the appointed harvest, my child, is now. There is a letter, my beloved, that was given to me to carry to you. It is from someone who loved you, someone whose prayers for you outlasted their time on the earth, someone who saw the calling on your life before you had words for it yourself, who watched the seasons of difficulty from a different vantage point and never stopped believing what they saw in you from the beginning. I am not going to speak for them at length, because what they want to say to you is simple, and it does not need to be expanded to be true. They said only this: I never stopped watching. I never stopped praying. What I saw in you when you were young is still there. I am so glad you stayed. I want you to sit with that. My child, not analyze it, sit with it type. I receive what God preserved for me, not what might be coming, not what you are hoping for. What has been preserved, the specific thing, in the exact form I have been keeping it. The dream, the calling, the believing, the sense of forward movement towards something real, restored and released and placed back into the hands that were formed to hold it in the waiting season. Type it as someone receiving a delivery that was always addressed to you, because it was always addressed to you and to the person whose name is on your heart right now as you finish this message, the one who came to your mind when I spoke about the dream that went quiet and the prayer season that was abandoned, the one you know is carrying the same weight you have been carrying in this season. I want to speak to you as the person who can reach them right now. There is something I want to do in their life that I am prepared to do, and the door I am opening for them, the specific movement I am preparing in their situation, can be accompanied by your faith declared on their behalf. Sow a seed today in their name. Let your act of faith from inside your own season of waiting be the declaration over their life that the restoration I am speaking into yours is also moving toward them. Visit the link in the description below or scan the QR code on screen. Sow a seed for the person on your heart, and know that what you plant in faith for someone else, from a place of not yet arrived yourself, carries a weight in my hands that I honor. I see the love in it, and I am moved by it. Now I want to speak a blessing over you, my child, because this is not a word that ends with information. It ends with release. I speak restoration over the dream you silenced. My child, I speak it back into full life, fully voiced, fully held, fully expectant. The silence is over. My beloved, the dream is alive, and it is yours, and you are allowed to speak it out loud again. I speak restoration over the prayer season that was abandoned. I am not holding the reduction against you. I am restoring the fullness of the praying, the specific, vulnerable, expectant praying that you once offered freely, and I am inviting you back into that fullness without penalty for the time you needed to protect yourself. I speak restoration over the years the locust ate, my beloved. The double portion is prepared. The shame is being exchanged. The dishonor is being reversed. Every conclusion drawn from the gap between the promise and the present reality by every person who drew a conclusion, including yourself, my child, is being overturned by the visible evidence of what I am releasing. Not overturned in private, publicly, in the sight of the people who observe the season of difficulty, not to humiliate them, but to demonstrate that what I declare stands regardless of what the intermediate circumstances suggest, and that the appointed time, when it arrives, vindicates every moment of faithful waiting that preceded it. Isaiah 54:17. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their vindication from me, declares the Lord. No weapon, my beloved, not one. The weapons formed in your weak season, the lie, the conclusion, the doubt, the silence, none of them will prosper. None of them will have the final say, my child. The heritage of those who have served me faithfully in the hidden places is vindication from me. The eternal declaration, recorded and permanent, that you were not wrong, my beloved, that the promise was real, that the waiting season was formation and not abandonment, that I am, and I was, and I will always be, faithful to what I began in you, my child. Genesis 50:20. As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive, as they are today, for good, my beloved. The enemy meant it for harm, I meant it for good. What I am producing from the season the enemy used against you is something the enemy could not have anticipated, because what I do with the years of loss is not repair. It is advancement to a condition that the loss itself made possible. I am using what was taken as the catalyst for something that would not have been possible without it. The very seasons that were used against you are being used by me, not as consolation, as raw material for what I build. The delay was not punishment, my child. It was formation. And I am so grateful, my beloved, that you stayed, that you did not leave when the staying was hardest, that you held the dream even when you stopped speaking it. That faithfulness, the specific faithfulness of someone who holds without seeing, opens the door to what I am releasing now. You are not behind, my beloved. You are not late. You are not the person the difficult seasons suggested you were. You are exactly who I said you were on the day the promise was given, my child. And you are exactly ready for what I have preserved for you through everything that came after that day. And what I preserved for you, my beloved, is worth every day of the waiting. Not as a platitude, as a statement of fact about the specific, real, actual thing that is moving toward you in this appointed season, my child. It is worth it. You will know that when you see it, and you will see it type, it is already done. Not as a declaration of something you are hoping to make true, as a declaration of what heaven has already rendered, what I have already decided, what the record already shows, what the appointed time has already set in motion. The restoration is not pending my decision. My decision was made before the stealing season began, in the same eternal moment when the promise was first spoken into you. What is pending is only the visible manifestation, and the visible manifestation is coming. Type it as someone who has received a letter from heaven telling them the status of their case, and the letter says, done. If you have a person on your heart right now, someone whose name you cannot stop returning to as you finish this message, someone who is in the season you are leaving, someone who is still carrying the weight of the promise not yet visible without the word I have just given you today, I want you to be the one who carries this to them. Visit the link in the description below or scan the QR code on screen. Sow a seed in their name from someone who is standing at the threshold of the restoration as a declaration over their life that the same God who preserved what you thought was gone forever is preserving what they have not yet seen arrive. Let your seed be the word over them that this message has been for you, and know that what you release in faith over another person in this moment is itself a seed planted in your own new season. I see the name on your heart. I know who it is, and I am already moving. This is your restoration season, my child. What you thought was gone forever was never gone. It was preserved, my beloved. It was held in the hands of the one who does not lose what he preserves, and it is being given back to you now, in full, with the double portion, with the specific and unmistakable evidence that the enemy's conclusion was wrong, that the promise was real, my child, that the formation season produced exactly the person the promise required, and that the appointed time is not a vague future concept, but a present reality stepping into view. I love you, my child. I have always loved you, my beloved, and I am proud of you for staying. Go now, my child, into the season beginning. Go with open hands. The restoration is already moving toward you.